Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today because the defendant, Brooke Richardson, murdered a baby that she didn't want and never intended to keep.
She's a great student. She started doing competitive cheer outside of the school.
Skylar has just learned she's pregnant and she tells no one. Nobody knows about this.
Sometime when her mother, father, and brother were asleep, Skylar delivers a baby girl. She names her daughter Annabelle. And then she buries the remains in the backyard.
He did give birth to a newborn infant. He caused the death of that infant. She subsequently burned the infant.
They were on a one-way track to get her to confess so they could take her to jail.
Are you gonna put me in jail because of that?
People were ready to convict. There was false information everywhere. It was ugly.
She was determined to keep her secret.
Skylar, if they do an autopsy on the baby and they find out that it was living at the time of the birth, then you will go to jail. I never meant to kill my baby.
Your wife is in a bar. You said she's unresponsive.
This is what he's going to tell you.
How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything? We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
Small town USA, it's a pretty tight-knit community.
Carlisle is in the southwest corner of Ohio. It's a town of subdivision. A lot of people that grow up in Carlisle don't leave.
A little bit of rural on the outskirts and not really large.
This is where the Richardson family lives in Carlisle. Kim, son Jackson, Scott, and their daughter Skylar.
She's a great student, National Junior Honor Society. She started doing competitive cheer outside of the school. That's what she really enjoyed. She's just
a peacemaker.
Yeah, peacemaker.
By all appearances, she was happy-go-lucky.
But appearances, as always, can be deceiving.
I noticed she was constantly looking at herself in the mirror. She was counting every calorie that she ate. The day that she said she couldn't get a pack of gum because it had 5 calories per piece, that really hit home. Her eating disorder defines her.
We had taken her to several different places. We tried several different things. It was extremely frustrating.
She did not develop at all, mentally or physically. She stayed frozen in that 12-year-old body.
But she is a popular student and sexually active, first with a boy named Trey and then a new friend, Brandon.
In the spring, I noticed that they were getting very close, and that's when I had encouraged her to get on the pill. That's when I made her appointment for her to go to the doctor. I went with her. I sat in the lobby. She went back by herself. When she came out, I could tell that she had been crying, but I wouldn't say that she was horribly shaking or upset. I could just tell that she'd been crying. She kept everything a secret. She always has.
Skylar's secret this time is a big one. She is 8 months pregnant, weeks away from giving birth.
Skylar did not want to have to deal with her mother's wrath during her pregnancy and thought that she could get through school and then tell her mom that she was pregnant and then have a normal delivery process.
I absolutely had no idea.
I just thought that she'd gained weight.
Skylar believed that she had time. Most teenagers are naive. They put out of mind what they think they can do the next day or the next week, and they just live in that moment.
And her high school senior prom was just 9 days away.
Skylar was very excited about prom, to be going with Brandon. First time she had had someone that she really cared about to go to prom with. We always go out to a little shop in Columbus. They have a great selection of dresses. She knew she wanted red. She hadn't had a red one before. It had a lace corset in the back. He loved it.
But Skylar's mom is worried she has put on weight and might not fit in the dress.
I always get stressed out because if her hair's not right, you know, with girls, they've got hair, nails, makeup, the whole thing. She wasn't exactly happy with herself, but she never is.
Prom night is a disaster.
It's supposed to be the perfect night, but she's having major cramping. And she's even mentioned it to Brandon that she has the worst cramps she's ever had.
Skylar is in a lot of pain at prom because she's in labor and still just plows through and goes forward with it.
Skylar keeps her secret from everyone. And then the next night, back home, Skylar makes a decision that will change her life forever.
Sometime when her mother, father, and brother were asleep, Skylar delivers a baby girl. She says she delivers it in the bathroom on the toilet.
I mean, I still can't believe that none of us woke up.
She says the umbilical cord is not attached, the baby is not breathing, it doesn't have a heartbeat.
I have no doubt it was a stillborn. There's no way that we wouldn't have heard or the dogs wouldn't have reacted or something.
And then takes the baby down the stairs into the garage, gets a garden trowel.
She names her daughter Annabelle, and then she buries the remains in the backyard.
It was very, very hard knowing that she had her own private funeral for Annabelle in the backyard.
Much later that day, Skylar sends a text and a photo to her mother from the gym. "My belly is back." And to her boyfriend, Brandon, saying she's so happy, without explaining why.
And she tells no one. Not her mom, not her brother, who's her best friend, not any of her girlfriends, certainly not her father. Nobody knows about this.
But this would be a secret that would not keep. Two months after burying baby Annabelle in her backyard, Skylar returned to the doctor's office for more birth control pills, where of course she was asked what happened to the baby.
Skylar Richardson had gone there for a follow-up appointment and told the doctors while she was there that she had delivered a baby that was not breathing and that she had subsequently buried her in the residence of her backyard.
The Warren County Sheriff's Office begins to investigate.
You can have a seat right there and on the other side, and we'll come in just a couple minutes, okay?
Skylar is brought by her father to the police station for questioning by Detectives John Fain and Katie Gee.
As I was driving up there, I thought there might be some other explanation, or probably something happened other than there was truly going to be the remains of a newborn infant in the backyard of the residence.
I said, "Can I be in there with her?" He said, "No, she's 18, we have to talk to her alone." I said, "Does she need an attorney?" "Oh, absolutely not. She's not in any trouble." Naively thinking that, why would a police officer lie to you?
But Detective Fain begins by giving Skylar her Miranda rights.
Can you read this part out loud for me, just that last paragraph?
I have read the statement of my rights and I fully understand what my rights are. I do not want a lawyer at this time and am willing to speak with law enforcement officers.
If you're okay, then just sign right there. There's no way other than just to come out and say it, okay, we got a call from the doctor's office.
Now Skylar knows her secret is out.
My parents are going to kill me. I didn't want to tell them. I didn't want to tell them at all. I still don't really want to tell them, but now they're going to know.
Without prompting, she says she did not harm her baby, something she will repeat more than a dozen times.
I didn't kill Joe.
Oh, we're not saying anything like that. That's not why you're here today. We're not saying that. Did you say her? Okay, it was a girl. What do you do then?
I stayed there with her for a little bit. I tried to see if maybe she'd wake up, but I had to bury her, and I think am I going to be in trouble for that? I know it wasn't right.
For trying to see if she could
breathe, and then I had to bury her.
Why do you decide you have to bury her?
I couldn't tell anybody.
Because you hadn't told anybody and you still didn't want to tell anybody?
It got really bad. I love her. I didn't really want to.
It's not for us to say.
Are you going to put me in jail because of that?
No, I'm not. That's not why I'm here today, to try to put you in jail. We're still just trying to find out what happened, okay? Did you know where you would bury her?
I just wanted to bury her in my backyard so we could put flowers on her.
Okay.
At this point, had no idea what was going on.
Can I talk to my parents?
In just a minute, but I've got to step out just real quick and
I'm not going to stay the night.
Oh, honey, you just take a deep breath, okay? I'm gonna stay in here with you, okay?
Detective Vane finally comes out and tells us sort of a synopsis of what happens. We're in shock.
I just checked out. I couldn't feel my body. I have very little memory of what transpired.
Just be honest, what's going to happen?
I don't know, okay? I'm in here observing.
Jail?
No. You're not going to jail today. No.
No, and I'm not going to.
Just relax, okay? Listen, just relax, okay?
I don't want to go to jail.
I know you don't. Just relax,
I don't have to go to jail, though, right?
Listen, I understand that you're sorry, and I understand that you're upset, and I understand that you didn't want this to happen, okay? Just take some deep breaths, okay? Everything's gonna be okay.
I don't have to go to jail.
You're not going to jail. Okay, we're not taking you to jail today. You're not going to jail, okay? So just...
What's the worst that's going to happen?
Honey, I don't know. This isn't my case, okay? He's talking. He just wants to get some things straightened up so that we can figure out exactly what happened. Are you being 100% honest with him? Okay.
I just want everybody to believe me because I don't want to be in trouble.
I understand.
He says you can go back and talk to her. Doesn't tell us that we're on camera being recorded.
I know. I mean, kids get pregnant every day. Pregnancy is not the end of the world.
I'm so sorry.
What did they tell you?
I think they want to know if I killed it myself.
Yeah, you'll go to jail.
I didn't, though.
Can you imagine the absolute horror that we just went through, not knowing what's going on?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, we can't fix this.
I know.
There's nothing
If you go
we
to
can
jail,
do.
it's in the papers. It's everywhere. The neighbors have already called me, and I know she was telling me that they're digging up stuff in her backyard. You're going to be on the news.
Oh, please, you're supposed to support me. I didn't.
Skylar, I am supportive, but I'm just saying.
I tell you guys.
Honey, that is wrong.
I know, but I didn't kill her.
Skylar, if they do an autopsy on the baby and they find out that it was living at the time of the birth, then you will go to jail.
I know I will.
The Richardsons' backyard is now a crime scene.
It was a nightmare. They had drones over our house.
The news people camped out all night.
Detective Fane got a search warrant to dig up the infant's remains, which had been decomposing for some 9 weeks.
It was a lengthy process, but we had recovered all the remains. So the coroner's office had time also to conduct an examination of the remains of what they had left.
And the county coroner reports to the detectives that a forensic anthropologist observed charring on Annabelle's bones, suggesting a more sinister motive.
I said, "How certain is she?" He said, "She is absolutely and 100% certain that these bones were burned."
It is the turning point in the case, and Skylar is brought back for what would be a pivotal round of questioning.
I was told it was only going to be a few minutes. Kim and I are sitting outside.
With Detective Brandy Carter joining Fane for the session.
And I'm just going to be honest, I don't know how to say it any other way than we know there was more that happened, okay, than what you and I talked about the other day.
Skylar's lawyer, Charles Rickers.
Skylar holds the hand of the female officers in the room. She did not have a lawyer, her mom and dad weren't present, and she frankly thought that the police were there to help her.
And under questioning, Skylar is about to admit something she had repeatedly denied before, that the baby was born alive.
You knew I didn't get the truth, and you still had to carry that weight with you.
I'm so sorry.
Is it possible that she maybe breathed a little bit, like maybe, before?
Maybe.
Okay.
That's what you do with her.
I put her in the towel.
Okay.
Okay. Do you feel like she was breathing when you were holding her and you held her too tight? Okay. I know. It's okay. It's okay. You can't. It's okay. You were trying.
I think that might kill her.
Okay. Okay.
When she just interjects out of the blue, "I think I might have killed her. I squeezed her too tight." Detective Carter and I were a little bit taken back by that because we hadn't asked her that, but she just offered that up on her own. What's going through my head right at that moment is that she admitted to killing her baby.
And the detectives seek to leave no room for doubt.
I so hard. I did like that so hard, but just like I just want her to go. You think that's when she died? Maybe.
It seemed now like I was speaking with someone who had done the crime that we were there for and was guilty and knew they were guilty. So now I know I'm going to ask questions about signs of life.
Did you hear anything like little gurgle sounds? You know, like they'll kind of make a gurgle sound?
I asked about gurgling, which was a word I introduced. Skylar had not used that word herself.
But it soon became Skylar's word.
She might have made a noise.
Made a noise? What kind of noise?
Maybe a little noise, a gurgle, but I didn't know if it was something else. And then I didn't hear another one.
So how do you know the baby was alive just a little bit? The Annabelle was alive a little bit.
I saw her arm maybe a little bit. Moving on.
They had what they needed.
Skylar had admitted to maybe accidentally killing her baby. I know at this point there's going to be an arrest that day.
She did give birth to a newborn infant. He caused the death of that infant. She subsequently burned the infant and buried the infant in the backyard of her own residence.
But the prosecutors and detectives were about to learn there would be a serious problem with what happened inside this interrogation room.
This case was a false confession.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Law and Crime. 20-year-old Brooke Skylar Richardson is facing aggravated murder, manslaughter, child endangerment, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse charges in connection with the death of her baby, Annabelle.
It became a news media feeding frenzy, known as the case of the high school cheerleader baby killer.
You're describing a spoiled, self-entitled teenager who was more worried about vanity than keeping the life of a baby alive. That sounds really horrible.
Those are your words.
It took the life out of Skylar to hear those people say all those horrible things about
That she
her
knew wasn't
that
true.
she knew wasn't true.
And much of the public outrage grew out of the allegation that Skylar Richardson had burned the remains of her baby daughter.
That's when we find out how bad this has gotten.
The details were so horrific. Did she not just kill her infant, but she burned the remains?
The burning issue is what caused the prosecutor to indict Skylar for an aggravated murder.
And again, it was something that Skylar seems to admit in her second interrogation with Detectives Fain and Carter, after first repeatedly denying anything to do with burning.
Tell me about the fire. What fire?
It seemed to be a genuinely surprised reaction when we asked about the fire.
There's some evidence to show that there was some burning on her. You didn't burn her? I promise on anything I didn't burn her. My dad has lots of bonfires, but I didn't burn her. There was some charring and stuff on some of her bones, so. I didn't burn her. Are you sure? I swear on anything. You're sure? That I'm sure of. I'm sure of.
Clearly, when they said something to her about burning, she had no idea what they were talking about.
Skylar was sobbing almost uncontrollably, and the detectives continued to press her on the burning because just before they began the interrogation, the county coroner had told Lieutenant Fain that was the finding of their forensic anthropologist, Dr. Elizabeth Murray.
He met us there and we're in the hallway just outside the door, and he just wanted to make sure we were certain and clear on the information that the baby's remains had been set on fire.
So the doctors know that there was fire of some sort or some kind of burning. They know for certain.
So now that I know that I have that, I'm going to be more direct with questions about the fire, and yes, I am looking to get an admission on that part.
There's still a lot more that we don't know that we just want. You're so close. Just give us all the truth that's left.
I've given you all the truth I told you about Squeeze.
Detective Carter said something about cremating her. Did you possibly try to cremate her?
So I I wonder if maybe it just was one of those things where you just thought, well, maybe I can do this, and because I think like a cremation, like I'm gonna have some ashes that I can keep of my daughter and keep them.
At one point, Skylar finally said, I think I might have tried to cremate her a little bit.
Where'd you put her? No, I mean like before the lighter. Where was she? Okay, and then where?
Grab the shovel.
Okay. Okay. Well, so was she? So you're holding her, and then you grab the shovel and the lighter. Was it like one of those camping lighters, or was it just like a cigarette lighter, like a clicker with a long thing?
Like the long one you go.
Okay. So where do you take her to try to cremate her? You think? Trying to remember like where.
Yeah, she was in there.
In the hole? So you dug the hole first. Okay. And then you put her in the hole?
I guess I just.
Part of the remains, like did you start like at the bottom, at the top? It is what it is. You can't change it, Skylar. You're just.
I'm scared I'm afraid.
You are telling us what happened. Nothing's going to change what happened, okay? But your intention was to try to cremate her. So what part did you try to light?
We were relentless, for lack of a better word. During that second interview, we asked over and over until she admitted to the fire.
How big would you describe the fire? Would you say big? Would you say small? Was it tall? Was how like?
Yeah, I don't remember.
How far up did it go? Like, was it like shin? Like, you know, if you want to use like your forearm, was it like this far up? Was it this far up? Do you know how far up the fire went? Okay. What about to her, like chest area, stomach?
Maybe. I'm going to try to get it out.
What made you decide you wanted to get it out?
There was only one problem with this tearful confession of a burning baby, as detectives would later learn.
During the time in between the arrest and this trial, Dr. Murray recanted her initial observation. She no longer saw burning.
Many months later, when she takes her time, she admits her mistake, but it was too late. The prosecutor already indicted Skylar for aggravated murder.
I remember being completely dumbfounded because one thing about the forensic pathologists and scientists, they work in certainties. I was shocked at how that kind of mistake could be made.
Under aggressive questioning, Skylar Richardson had confessed to something that the doctor no longer said had happened.
And without Dr. Murray allegedly being so certain, we never would have done that. I thought this could blow this case for us and at a minimum make it an uphill battle for the prosecutors.
Yet even with serious questions about whether Skylar Richardson had been coerced into making a false confession, prosecutors were confident they had the evidence to convict her at trial.
All right. On the court of town session, the Honorable Judge Oda presiding. Remain seated.
Case number 2017 CR 33292. We are now going to hear the opening statements. Mr. Knippen, you may proceed.
Steve Knippen is the first assistant prosecutor in Warren County.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today because the defendant, Brooke Richardson, murdered a baby that she didn't want and never intended to keep. She continued to lie and conceal this pregnancy because no one was ever going to find out about the truth of her pregnancy. She didn't start prenatal care. She didn't look at baby clothes, cribs, diapers, bottles. And she didn't research how to give her child up for adoption. She did nothing.
And Knippen told the jurors they should accept Skylar's words from the interrogation as the truth of what happened.
During this interview, Brooke admitted the following: that her daughter was alive for approximately 5 minutes. She saw her daughter's arms moving a little.
I saw her arms maybe a little bit.
heard her gurgle, and heard her cry.
What is a noise?
Maybe noise. What kind of noise?
Maybe a little noise.
In just hours after putting her daughter in the ground, she documented her feelings about exactly what was going through her head at that time. I'm literally speechless with how happy I am.
We were there for every minute of it. It was very difficult to listen to and portray her in the worst possible manner. It was just horrible.
All right, Mr. Rickers, you may proceed.
This case comes down ultimately to the interrogations. Whether or not the police put words in Skylar's mouth, whether or not the statements Skylar made were true or possible. Now, what is not possible is a child catching on fire by touching it with a lighter. It is not possible. Babies are 80% water.
And Rickers tells the jury about someone who will not be testifying at the trial, the forensic anthropologist who mistakenly told police the baby's remains had been burned.
Her name is Dr. Murray, and you're not going to hear from her. They're not going to call her to the stand. Dr. Murray rushes. She admits that she rushes. She says the bones are burned. The bones are charred. This doctor, many weeks later, said I was wrong. She told the prosecutor's office I was wrong. She said, I ain't gonna lie to them and I ain't gonna lie for them. This case is about a rush to judgment. And it's all about that second interrogation. It's the whole case. Now they suggest Skylar hid her pregnancy because she is evil, because she had this sinister premeditated plan to kill a child. Skylar was a gentle, loving, kind individual who had problems would not hurt an insect, let alone being mean to a human being or a murderer.
When the prosecution called Skylar's boyfriend, Brandon, to testify, he invoked an Ohio law that courtroom cameras could not show his face.
I want to direct your attention to May 7th at 10:54 a.m. And would you agree that's you saying, good morning, beautiful babe?
Yes.
And she responds back, good morning, my amazing boy.
Yeah.
When she responded back, good morning, my amazing boy, at 10:42 a.m., did you know that she had just buried a baby several hours prior?
No.
And her response to you at 11:45:11 on May 7th is, I'll tell you all about it later, but last night was just like the worst ever, and I didn't go to sleep till 5:30, but I feel so much better this morning. I'm happy. Did you have any idea at that time what she was referring to when she said it was the worst night ever?
No.
At some point, you did start questioning her about who the father was. Do you recall that? And she responded back, that guy, Trey, I used to date, who I never talk about. I'm so sorry for lying and for not telling you in the first place. I am so sorry. Please forgive me eventually. I'm so sorry. At your age, it had to have been pretty hard learning everything that was going on and knowing that all of that had been kept from you.
Yeah.
In the end, the outcome of the case would come down to the interrogation of Skylar Richardson and the testimony of the detective who led the questioning.
Sir, would you please state your name?
John Fain, spelling of the last name is F-A-I-N-E. I'm retired now, but it's a case I will definitely never forget.
Detective Fain would testify for 2 days about the interrogation, trying to defend and explain the techniques he used.
Sir, there were several times in that interview where you told her that you didn't believe that she purposely killed her baby. Do you remember hearing that?
Yes, I do.
I think I can speak for both of us. I don't think you killed her.
Why were you saying that?
We're at the part of the interview where I felt like and was pretty certain she was getting closer to confessing and telling us more of the truth, but just getting her to be comfortable enough to tell the truth.
Okay.
I felt like in the end we treated Skylar the exact same way I would hope if it was one of my children they were treated if they were being questioned like that.
But that's not how Skylar's lawyer, Charles Rickers, saw it, not at all.
Good morning.
And the focus is very tight on that second interrogation session, in which Skylar confesses to giving birth to a live baby and then burning the remains.
I agree that she initially and several times denied that, yes.
And ultimately she was broken down, and she said she tried to cremate Annabelle just a little bit, right?
Can you define broken down?
Well, do you agree that you and Detective Carter were pretending that the main purpose of your interrogation of her was to help get Annabelle's remains back to her family for a proper burial?
And I think about your dad already contacting me, asking could he have her remains so you guys can do a burial. And I feel awful, but none of that can happen because the investigation just keeps going and going because we don't have the truth yet.
Would I agree that that was my main purpose?
That's what you led Skylar to believe.
I know we alluded to that. I can't say I necessarily agree that we made it clear to her that that was our main purpose, but that was certainly one of the things that we hope we would be able to accomplish.
The word cremate was used multiple times by you and Detective Carter before Skylar gave you the word back. Is that correct?
Yes, the word was used by all three of us, yes.
So where do you take her to try to cremate her? But your intention was to try to cremate her.
I wondered, well, maybe she was going to try to cremate her.
And you and Detective Carter used that theme, cremation, multiple times before she used that word. Is that correct?
No, I guess I wouldn't say used a theme. The word was used, but I'm not sure what you mean by creating a theme. I guess I don't feel like I had a theme that I was trying to create. But yes, I will agree I used that word several times as well as Detective Carter.
After you started to talk about this supposed cremation, you talked about needing to put out this fire, correct? You remember that?
Yes, sir.
What about someone seeing it? Were you worried about someone seeing a fire back there at that time of the night?
You wondered if you'd need water to put out the fire, right?
Are you sure you didn't use any water?
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Fain, babies are 80% water, are they not?
I do not know the exact percentage, but it sounds accurate. I know at least 75.
More than adults?
Yes, sir.
Unlike a number of false confessions, we had something in this case that we could prove was scientifically impossible.
But like the fire issue, you and Detective Carter refused to accept that Annabelle was dead upon delivery. Is that true?
Refused to accept that she was dead upon birth?
Yeah, you denied Skylar those statements that she'd repeatedly made, 29 plus times.
We don't refuse or accept. We're there merely as investigators. And as we all saw, even her parents who've known her for 18 years, he said they have trouble telling when she's lying or not because she does so much.
All eyes in the courtroom are now on Skylar. Was she a practiced liar or a confused teenager up against a pair of skilled interrogators?
If you're convicted of the highest, the most severe count in this particular case, the judge has no ability to do anything but sentence you to life in prison.
Ladies and gentlemen, shortly after murdering her daughter and placing her lifeless body in the dirt behind their home, Brooke Richardson sent 2 elated text messages to her mother that both contain the phrase, "My belly is back. My belly is back." Ladies and gentlemen, that belly was her child. That belly was her daughter, a daughter with fingers and toes, with hair on her head. There's only one reason that you wouldn't ask for help at that point. Only one reason you would force yourself to give birth in silence. And that's because that child was never going to see the light of day. Any mother in that situation, if they believe that their baby is in trouble, if they believe that their baby is in danger, would be begging for help. What does Brooke do? Nothing. If you want to know how she truly felt about her daughter after just putting her in the ground, what was her reaction before she was ever charged, before she ever spoke with the police? Back when she thought she got away with everything, how did she feel? I'm literally speechless with how happy I am.
We were very worried that Skylar would deteriorate throughout the trial process, just the mere stress of the situation.
she would just check out.
She made it a conscious effort not to show. That
She
was
checked out.
the Charlie, they told her, you
cannot.
just need to keep your head up, look straight ahead. And she did her damnedest to do it.
Her lawyer, Charles Rickers, now asking the jury to consider why the prosecution stuck by its story that the baby had been burned.
Why'd they do it? Why would they come in here and tell all of us that this cremation and fire should be trusted? Why'd they do it? If they knew, they know. They know it's not possible. We all know. Our common sense tells us it's not possible. Science tells us it's not possible. Because they know that if you have reason to doubt what Skylar said about cremation and burning, then you have reason to doubt the other things she said that the detectives told her to say about signs of life. Well, we know in this case the odds are actually zero that you can light a baby or a human being on fire with a lighter. It is impossible. If you have reason to doubt the burning, you have reason to doubt the signs of life.
That addressed the most serious counts: aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, and child endangerment. The fourth count for the jury to decide was abuse of a corpse.
And it is still a very serious felony. A conviction on that would label Skylar a felon. Women who kill their children, we've read about it, we've heard about it, throw them in dumpsters. They try to distance themselves from the body, throw them away in trash cans, like towels. Skylar named her child. She put her in a gravesite that she could see from her bedroom window and kept her close, put flowers on her grave and marked the grave. You have to fight for Skylar. And this is the hardest part of any case, and that's passing the burden of Skylar on you. I trust you'll find her not guilty.
The jury of 7 women and 5 men begin their deliberations just before noon.
When you're waiting for a verdict, there is no way to properly prepare anyone for that feeling. It is the most intense moment of your life.
She's either going to prison for the rest of her life or she's going home.
The jury deliberates 4 hours. I think we were all shocked by how quickly it came back. Families start piling in the gallery.
Has the jury reached a verdict in the case?
We have.
The first count is the most serious: aggravated murder.
Would the defendant please rise? With regard to count 1, we, the jury in the above captioned case, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of the offense of aggravated murder. We, the jury in the above captioned case, do hereby find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of the offense of involuntary manslaughter. We, the jury, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of child endangerment. It does say we further find the defendant did not cause serious physical harm to the alleged victim, but that finding is not necessary as a matter of law. Verdict form number 4, we, the jury in the above captioned case, find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, guilty of the offense of abuse of a corpse.
It is the least serious of the 4 counts against her.
She knew what she had done was wrong, but she knew she was not guilty of the other charges. She could breathe again.
If I could describe my feeling after the verdict in one word, it would be relieved. I was just so happy for Skylar. I just can't imagine what she was going through, facing potential life in prison.
But she still faced sentencing for the abuse of a corpse charge, with a potential of up to 3 years in prison.
I think justice was served with respect to, I think our system works.
Court's in recess.
The jury has a job to do. It's certainly not an easy job, especially with an 18-year-old girl facing 25 years to life in prison. The prosecution had a tough task, so I believe she got a fair trial.
The next day, facing the prospect of going to prison, Skylar Richardson decides she will speak publicly for the first and only time.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would do anything and above that you ask, and I understand, and I just wanted to say how sorry I was. I can sometimes be selfish, but I would like to think that I've become better in the knowledge that I've upset everyone and hurt so many people with what I've done, and I'm forever sorry, and I'm so sorry. I'm really, really sorry, and I understand, and thank you.
You know, I have a daughter about your age, Ms. Richardson, and I have a granddaughter about the age that Annabelle would be right now. In all of this mess that we have with this case, I think what often gets overlooked, Ms. Richardson, is just how precious life is. Your life, Annabelle's life, life is precious, and it should be protected, and it should be guarded,